probably the challenge of me is living in the shadows of a successful father. It's very difficult to achieve something in your own name.
Yes. Touch on Anthony Joshua. When he came out of the Olympics, he took a long while to decide whether or not to even sign with you.
Too long.
What is the lowest moment that you've had with a fighter? With boxing, who would you say, out of all the boxers that you've met in passing, has had the maddest ego you've ever had?
Chris Eubank Jr.
Brav, okay.
Mate, honestly. Action.
Thank you, bruv. I needed the cue. You're looking well, Eddie, man.
Trying, mate. I'm trying.
Skin glistening, man.
When they tell me I've got to sit down with Castillo,
big man,
I know I need to sharpen up in the morning.
Come on. Your skin is looking amazing, bruv.
Thank
Black
you.
don't crack, bruv. I see you, man. I see you. Come on. Now, we're here, Netflix. Now, if you remember in Monaco, I did say I was on Netflix, so I made a few calls, and here we are, bruv.
Do you know what? I wondered how I got the gig.
Big man ting.
Wow.
Thank you,
Castillo.
You get me? I'm trying. My reach goes far. You get me?
You.
Not just Brixton. But yeah, Matchroom, The Greatest Showman. I've been privy to see a few episodes of it myself, and it's amazing. Like, it's actually amazing. What was it like for you with the Netflix cameras following you everywhere?
Really, really weird. I mean, at first, we had to, when we made this decision to do it, it was like, do we really want cameras following us around for 2 years, mic'd up, in arguments, in negotiations, during the fight as well? And, you know, you're sitting there sometimes, you might be talking to Turki Al-Sheikh, you're talking to AJ, and you're like, oh my God, I'm mic'd, you know. And you had to really just roll with it and allow Box to Box, who created the series, to have all the access. And, you know, I'm proud that we didn't really cut anything out. There's a lot of, when I watched it back, I was like, oh my God. Like, my daughter said to me, I said, what do you think? She went, yeah, it's good, but you lose a lot in there. I'm like, yeah, I know, but that's life. So there's no point doing a documentary where it's like, no, we lost a big fight, cut that out. Or we lost 5-0 in the 5v5, cut that out. It just shows you like the ups and the downs of life and business and particularly sport. So I call this a cross between Drive to Survive and Succession.
Okay.
You've got the behind the scenes of all the sports that we're involved with, but you've got the business element as well. And of course, you know, the narrative of the family business and almost like an inner rivalry between me and my dad.
So was there any moments while filming you thought to yourself, oh God, I can't believe they filmed this bit, man?
Yeah, I mean...
Like, even with the 5v5 bit.
Yeah, the 5v5 was brutal, but I was so in the moment, I didn't care at the time. But probably we were backstage and it was kicking off with Jake Paul and his manager, Nikisa, and like they banned us from getting into Katie Taylor's change room. And I was like trying to fight my way through, and I was like calling him outside for a row, and it was like when I was watching it back, it was like, oh no. Or when Eubank egged Conor Benn, I'm mic'd, and I'm like going for Ben Shalom. I'm like, it's just the head falls off sometimes. Or Katie Taylor when she got the decision, I just exploded. I mean, and you're kind of watching it back like, oh. But one of the beauties of the show is it is what it is. It's real, and it shows the emotion. You know, sometimes the selfishness. You know, the victories, the defeats, you know, when AJ got knocked out to Dubois, the whole thing, you know, from me driving home, stopping off, getting a chicken salad sandwich and a packet of pickled onion Monster Munch, you know, like that to break down on the A406 in tears. It's what we do. It's everyday life for us.
There was a moment in there which made me laugh as well, where you said that you was driving and then somebody like cut you off and you wanted to get out and say something, but after a while you thought to yourself like, oh, I'm Eddie Hearn, bruv. What am I doing? I really like that part. It really showed, like, not just you as the businessman, but actually showed you Eddie, the actual real person, Eddie, behind the actual camera.
But life changes, doesn't it? I mean, you know, sometimes people forget that you're just a normal person, you know, just because you might have done a few big boxing shows or you're a relatable meme, that you're this different guy. And you know, I think the documentary does it well because it shows the success and size of the company, but particularly me and my dad. I mean, we're pretty normal people, really.
Yes, the private jet thing was mad. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw your dad in the private jet, I was like, bruv, I need to get my life together, bruv. I made a lottery ticket, bruv. I literally played the lottery.
They just did that for the cameras.
Nah, but still, I'm not gonna lie. It literally showed the levels because one thing I've noticed is that obviously you're the face, like you're the biggest promoter in the world of boxing, but we never really hear so much about your dad because obviously he's from the time beforehand. So it was really cool just seeing him, his everyday life, seeing him just moving around, talking, and the way you're dynamic.
OG, you know,
yeah, that's what I mean.
And he's the guy with all of the knowledge. You know what I mean? With all of the experience, and he's a great person to talk to. But you know, you'll see me going mad. I mean, when I was growing up, and he was my age, he was exactly the same as me. He was having rows with everyone. He was in the ring, jumping up and down, making an idiot out of himself like I am. But he's 77, so he's been through all that.
Yes.
And he's got all the knowledge, above everybody, and he's a good guy to talk to. So a lot of that is kind of him, almost mentoring me, down at the lake fishing. Listen, son, this is what you got to do.
So in the documentary in the show, you did mention that, like your dad did mention, like he grew up really like hard, like really having to work hard. So he kind of instilled that in you, and it showed a lot of that. So would you say that growing up, or at this point, there's a bit of a rivalry in terms of you trying to sort of impress him or make him feel proud?
You always want to impress your dad. I think you want your dad to say, well done, son. I mean, that's the main thing. But growing up, he come from a council estate in Dagenham.
Yes.
I was born when he started making money, not where he is now, but, he was doing well. And I think he was petrified of me being the kid that he hated growing up, which was the kid with money.
Yes.
So he just instilled in me, win. Work, I said to me, work like a dog, son. Work like you haven't got a penny. And that's probably one of my greatest assets that he's instilled in me, because that is how I do work. To the point where people think this guy's actually a bit sick in the head. What is he doing?
Yeah.
He just won't stop. But that's a great substitute if you don't quite have the ability. And sometimes I haven't got the ability or the intellect, but I will outwork you. And that was instilled from him. So, yeah, I've got to thank him from that. I mean, he's a very selfish man who is just so driven to make money and achieve. But that comes from his own childhood.
Yes.
His dad was a bus driver. His mum cleaned the houses of rich people, and he said, "I don't want this life. I want to be the rich person in a big house." And that's what he was just so obsessed with.
I think the show really sheds light on that, because there's a moment where it shows you at TalkSport with Simon Jordan going back and forth, and he mentions the thing about the silver spoon. So I think you're right in terms of, like, it really shows the dynamic of how things aren't easy. And you said something that's very important. I think you said you deal with the cards that you're dealt. So would you say that has really shaped you in terms of how you navigate?
Yeah, I mean, look, it must be the most incredible feeling in the world to come from nothing and achieve what he's achieved. And I'm very jealous of that for him, because, sometimes when we're walking around his house and he's got acres on acres and he's looking out over
that
all
yard
this
is
land.
big, bruv.
Yeah.
I was like, bruv.
And he's going, like, he said to me sometimes, you have no idea where I come from.
Yeah.
Like, he's looking out, and he's like, and for me, although I wasn't born in quite that world, I grew up in a nice house.
Yes.
And I want that feeling that he's got, but I can't have it because I was dealt a different hand.
Yes.
Probably the challenge of me is living in the shadows of a successful father. It's very difficult to achieve something in your own name.
Yes.
And your own right. Everyone knew me as Barry Hearn's son. And growing up, I was cool with that. I used to get me into nightclubs. But as you start becoming a real adult, you're like, I don't want to be Barry Hearn's son. I want to be Eddie Hearn, who was better than his dad.
Yeah.
And my whole childhood was like that with him. Competition. Playing cricket in the garden, football, table tennis. It didn't matter. We were desperate to beat each other. And I'm desperate to prove that I'm better than him.
Yes.
And now we joke, when someone goes up to him on the street and goes, "Oh, you're Eddie Hearn's dad."
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah.
Speaking of which, though,
we made it.
I do like that, but let me ask you something. You're from two different times. So you're from the social media era, and your dad's from the time when it was mad. Like, people's getting their kneecaps broken, bro. I've heard stories of the mad old school boxing life. How do you think your dad would fare in this generation, and how do you think you would do in that generation?
Good question. I mean, he says to me sometimes, he says, the evolvement of social media is good and bad for you. He said, when I used to do a show, I'd finish and go, well, that was a great show. Let's go and get something to eat. Now you're reading hundreds of thousands of people telling you it was a good show, bad show, you're this, you're that. I don't think he would have quite been able to handle the stick online.
Do you think he'd have the media training?
No, because he had Twitter for a little bit. I had to pull him off. He was like rowing from
too.
Dave from Lincoln, telling him that the snooker tournament he put on was shit. And he's like, "Who are you, Dave, to tell me this?" I'm like, "Yo, Bazza, stop arguing. Like, leave it." So that is a difficult thing, because when you're so passionate about something, and you've got some random, guy telling you that you're this and you're pathetic, and it's like it can get to you. So I don't know. You know, I grew up in that era of him promoting shows during that day, and it was definitely a little bit more lively. But you know, there weren't as many as opinions back then.
Yeah,
Like I
know.
say, you could just finish a show. But he says you can post and you can reach a couple of million boxing fans with one post. He said I used to go out under underground stations, you know, gluing the posters to the walls. That was our form of marketing. So it's a lot easier for you.
So it'd be out there with the guys in Brixton selling the CDs and that.
Yeah, well,
it's
like similar.
mad,
Yeah.
Oh my god. So speaking of which, it shows a lot of highs and lows. A lot with fighters. So for example, touch on Anthony Joshua. For example, even with him, I had no idea. For example, that when he came out of the Olympics, he took a long while to decide whether or not to even sign with you.
Too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that said, in terms of the lows, what is the lowest moment that you've had with a fighter?
Probably Anthony Joshua losing to Andy Ruiz at Madison Square Garden, because we were flying, right? And we went to America, sold out Madison Square Garden, and he got stopped. You know, went down 3 or 4 times. Yes. That hurt because it was unexpected.
That was definitely unexpected.
Getting beat by Dubois at Wembley.
Yes.
You know, that's, you know.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of celebrated Dubois from Grenada, innit?
Okay.
That's a
Thanks,
big
Castillo.
man up,
Should we end this?
I'm just saying, innit? Like, I'm just gotta be real in it. But yeah.
But yeah, that one hurt. I think when you're close to someone like that and you see, like, boxing's a brutal game.
Yes.
You know, don't forget, in both of those fights, he was dropped 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
He was very brave, you know, kept on getting up. But you see this mountain of a guy
Yes.
who just can't get up anymore, even though he's trying so hard to. So it's quite heartbreaking. But yeah, the MSG one was really tough to take at the time because I was a little bit more inexperienced then.
Yes.
And the more you go through, the easier things get. Like, that's just life. The more you put yourself in uncomfortable positions, the easier it gets next time.
Yes.
And that, you know, when we got beat by Ruiz, it was like, you know, the world's just come crashing down.
Yes. I'm not gonna lie, you see, for that fight, I was with my girl and she was like, Joshua's fighting, and I'm like, bruv, he's gonna smoke this guy, bruv. I was like, I'm going to bed. Woke up in the morning and it was mad. I would say, although that was an insane moment, it's probably one of the biggest moments in boxing, and I think AJ definitely showed the mental fortitude to come back.
For sure.
I don't think he ever gets enough credit for it.
Yeah, I remember going to see him the next day and I was like, what do you want to do? And he said, you got to get me in the ring with him again.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, you know, you got bashed up, really.
Yeah.
What about a little comeback fight? No, give me him straight away. And, you know, he beat him straight off the bat in the rematch.
So, also, with in terms of you and your father, you also have another fighter in Conor Benn who's also very close with his father. So, seeing the dynamic with him and Nigel Benn, for example, what similarities do you see, for example, with him and his dad and then you and your dad?
It's another good question. I mean, like, very similar. And the difference is, yeah, I have to work hard, but Conor has to go in there and fight. You know, boxing is a sport that's synonymous with people that come from humble beginnings.
Yes.
You know, people that need to find a way out. And Conor never needed to find a way out. He grew up in a mansion,
Yeah.
like me, you know, and like, but he trains harder than any fighter in the gym, and that is something inside you. That's a desire. That's a passion that is more powerful than any kind of, I don't know, street tough.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no,
100%.
I'm in this for me, my legacy, my father's name. And that makes you tough to beat. So I actually think, you know, the whole reason that Conor got his break, i.e. signed with Matchroom, fighting on the big shows, is because he was Nigel Benn's son.
Yeah.
But what he has done since is he's established himself in his own name in a sport that is so tough. He's showing more toughness, more resilience, and a higher work output than people that had nothing. And I think that's something he should be very proud of.
100%. I'd say one of the most iconic pictures or moments in boxing now, I think, is after the defeat with Chris Eubank Jr., when the camera sort of pans to his face and you can just feel like
The
every
pain.
emotion. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gave me like goosebumps
Yeah.
when I watched that. I said to myself,
Because of what it meant to him.
yeah, even down to the intro.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably one of my favorite intros in boxing with the Ready or Not and all that. I said, bruv, this is...
It's a wild night.
That was amazing. Speaking of which, if you was, obviously now you're on Netflix now and then they got WWE on there and everything. If you was to come out to like a fight, what would be your intro music?
Do you know what? You got to be a little bit careful because I'm 46,
Got
right?
you.
And I like music that when I play it or when people think I listen to it, they look at me as if to say, "You're 46."
So what are we
And
talking about now?
Yeah, but like don't forget, because of my age, I'm old school, like West Coast rap, right?
Bruv, so you're listening to
NWA,
Okay.
Dre, Eazy-E, Snoop, Nate Dogg,
Yeah, that's
like,
mad,
all
bruv.
this kind of stuff.
I thought he was gonna say Mr. Flock of Seagulls,
Yeah,
bruv,
yeah.
from the 80s. That's what I'm
But-
listening to, bruv.
Is it?
Yeah, big man
Yeah.
thing.
So, like, I would probably come out to something like that. But when I walked out, I would think I was the nuts. And everyone would look at me and say, what is this guy doing?
Big
So I
man
might
thing.
need something that suits me a little bit more.
Okay,
you
I
know?
think a good one would be for you would be, I'm trying to think of that tune. What's it? It was a good day by Ice Cube, bro.
Yeah, today was a good day.
That's you, bro. Yeah, that's like lifestyle. Yeah,
Just waking up in the morning, gotta
Big man-
thank God.
big man
I
ting.
don't know, but today seems kind of hard.
Bruv.
Again, cringe.
no, it's not
But
really cringe.
you
I
know what I'm
rate you.
saying?
Know?
Yeah,
You're gonna
yeah,
get a
yeah.
lot of black followers now.
That's great.
Yeah,
Thanks, mate.
bruv.
Thanks.
Big man ting, I
But
got
maybe my favourite ring walk song of all time
Go on.
is "Here We Go Again" by Whitesnake. And Mickey Ward, one of the great fighters,
Yes.
used to come out.
Best
to that.
trilogies.
Here we go again, walking down the only road I know, like like a hustler. I was born to
Yes.
sort of walk alone. Great song.
I do like Vladimir Klitschko's one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of sick. Yeah. That one.
Red
is
Hot
sick.
Chili Peppers.
Yes, bruv. That's a nice classic one. Now, speaking of which, you mentioned, for example, dealing with fighters and the highs and lows, for example. We see the exchanges with, for example, with Chris Eubank Jr. and
Yeah.
everything along the lines of that. So not specifically on him. With boxing, who would you say, out of all the boxers that you've met in passing, has had the maddest ego you've ever had? Where
Chris
you thought,
Eubank Jr.
bruv, okay.
Mate, honestly, but you know what he's really good at?
Go on.
Like spinning the narrative of a victim. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
yeah.
he's like, Eddie Hearn, he's a scum, this, and they're making me make this weight. And, my dad turned up late unexpectedly,
Yeah.
Because he got a couple of $100,000. Oh, no, I forgot to mention that bit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and he just played it great. And when I was talking at the presser, he was just talking over me. And it's like, there's actually not a lot you can do when every time
Yeah,
you
I
go
thought
to
you was going to
speak,
throw
you go,
hands at that
oh,
point, bruv.
yeah, if it weren't Eubank Jr., I probably would have. But, he's up there. I think I get on better with Tyson Fury now.
Okay.
There was a time where I think he really disliked me. And it made it really difficult to do the AJ fight.
Yes.
Because he didn't like AJ, he didn't like me. And he's a guy that's always going to do his own thing.
Yes.
You can't really reason with him. See, like, when we did Eubank against Ben, Eubank's like, my name has to be first on the poster. I'm walking second. I get the home change room. Otherwise, there's no fight. And he's not lying. Because
So you
that's
would've really-
how wild the ego is. So you have to then go to Conor Ben, and Conor Ben goes, I'm not going second on the poster, walking first,
Right.
having a shit change room. And then you got to sit down and you got to talk to the only one that you can reason with, which was Conor, and sort of say, look, this guy is a bit of a
Yeah.
plonker. So we either lose the fight or we do it.
Yeah.
Now, the other guy will think that's a moral victory. But who cares? I mean, who cares? Eubank Ben Eubank. Let's get in there, let's make the money, and let's get the fight made.
And one of the greatest fights in British boxing history.
Unbelievable.
So last question I got to give you is, Matchroom, the greatest showman. So now you're the biggest promoter in the world. Yeah, so sell us the greatest showman, bruv.
I would say The Greatest Showman is a great example of Drive to Survive meets Succession. Behind the scenes, politics, drama and thrills of some of the biggest sports events in the world, mixed up with the true story of a historic family business.
Big man ting. Matchroom, the greatest showman out on all digital platforms. Netflix, bruv. Go watch that.